Thank you for joining me today. I'm God's servant Maxwell Nnawuihe. Deadly weapons you ignore in Biafra and Nnamdi Kanu's freedom. Welcome to the part 5 of our teaching series. If you have followed all through from part 1 to the part 4, part 4A, B and C, then you would have noticed that there is a lot of interesting conversation. All the links from the part 1 to the part 4C, they are in the description below this video. Deadly weapons you ignore in the Biafra and Nnamdi Kanu's freedom. These weapons can bring anyone down, no matter how powerful, no matter how faithful, no matter, it doesn't matter how committed. You say that you are so pure, you are incorruptible. These weapons can bring you down if you don't protect yourself, if you don't guide yourself from them. These weapons can bring you down. These weapons are so powerful that they can even bring Mazi Nnamdi Kanu down if he doesn't protect himself from them. Is a weapon that respects nobody. Is a weapon that this weapon doesn't consider your position in any organization, in any leadership. It doesn't. These weapons can mess up the new DOS, which is the fourth administration of IPOB. It can mess them up. These deadly weapons. Number 1 is perception. It's a weapon, but you don't know. Perception. They want to condition how you see things. It's a deadly weapon. The government, the agents of the government, those who are aggrieved, who are not comfortable with certain leadership decisions that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has taken, certain leadership conditions that he has given to some people. So they pick up the weapon of perception, in order to control or to condition you on how you see things that are going on right now in the IPOB leadership with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the third DOS, the fourth DOS, the media and all that. Deadly weapon you ignore in the freedom of Nnamdi Kanu and in the freedom of Biafra. Deadly weapon number 2, narrative. Narrative. They want to control the story, how it is told, and how it is projected to you. Narrative. A deadly weapon. Don't downplay narrative. Don't say, oh, they are saying it on their own now. We know what we know. Don't ever end at saying that. You have to guide yourself and protect yourself from narrative that is being projected to you, that is being told to you, stories, the way they narrate all these stories and twist some of these stories and add certain things in order to make the story so convincing. Is a deadly weapon. Some of you have been brought down by perception. Weapon number 1, weapon number 2. Some of you are struggling with your feet right now. You are about to fall right now. You are about to be brought down now by their second deadly weapon, narrative. Weapon number 3, emotion. Emotion. They want to control how you react to what is happening. They want to control it, how you react, how you feel about it, how you react to it. Emotional control. They are manipulating your emotion. They are playing and toiling with your emotion, conditioning, calibrating your emotion. How you react to the sack of the third DOS, how you react to the inauguration of the fourth DOS, how you react to all the allegations against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, how you react is a weapon that is being unleashed. Deadly weapon number 4, assertive. They assert themselves as the most trustworthy. They assert themselves in the picture. They assert themselves in the story, in the narrative. They assert themselves in your life, in your brain, in your emotion as the most trustworthy. As the most trustworthy, the right leaders you must listen to, that you cannot do without. Assertive, very deadly weapon you ignore. Number 5 deadly weapon, advantage. They explore all advantages they have over the situation and use it to achieve their goals. And you don't know. Some of you are playing along ignorantly, foolishly, unsuspectingly, without any iota of understanding of what is happening. You lack the understanding of how you are being controlled, how you are being conditioned through perception, how you are being manipulated through narrative, how you are being manipulated emotionally, how they are asserting themselves in the picture, that you may understand and see them as the only trustworthy and the rightful leaders to follow. And so they are taking advantage on that to make sure that they get what they want from you. Deadly weapons. Government and the agents, they know how to use these weapons, but unfortunately, the masses don't. Let me tell you something. When Goliath stood before Israel, King Saul and the army, they saw him. But they saw him differently because there was a narrative of realities that was tied to his mastery of war. They said, oh, he is a warrior from his youth, the champion of the Philistines. The soldiers of Israel that saw him as a giant. But when David came into the picture, he saw an opportunity to change a narrative that can influence government policy to the advantage of his family and to the advantage of Israel. This happened by a perception. Perception, weapon number 1. When perception changes, narrative and emotion changes. Why some of you are still struggling today is because you have not allowed the right perception to take hold of how you see things, to build and clarify your insight into what is really happening with the case of Nnamdi Kanu and Biafra. Anytime perception changes, narrative and emotion changes. 1 Samuel 17 verse 26. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? That was a question that is coming from a correct perception. David asked, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? When David said uncircumcised Philistine, he was speaking in the context of covenant advantages Israel has over Philistine. And as a result, making victory over Philistine possible. That was both narrative control and being assertive positively with the right perception, in order to address the matter at hand. Covenant strategies of circumcision says in Genesis 17 verse 8 to 27, and I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, or the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God, and I will be their God. That was God talking to Abraham. Did you hear that? I will be their God, including in a battlefield. I will be their God. In a battle to preserve their inheritance and against slavery, I will be their God. At this point, if Goliath had won in that battle, the Israelites would have turned into slavery to the Philistines. But God was supposed to be in the battlefield. It was a covenant advantage that the armies of Israel and King Saul didn't understand, but David understood it. And the perception that launched him into taking a drastic action positively was, there is an uncircumcised Philistine who is short of the covenant advantages that we have over them. Therefore, this victory over the Philistines is guaranteed. Goliath and the army of Israel, they didn't realize that this battle was not to be won by the most popular conventional weapon. They didn't realize it, but by a subtle, dangerous weapon called perception and narrative, tied to covenant advantages. Covenant advantages includes Exodus chapter 23 verse 22. God says, I will be an enemy to your enemies. God is bound by his covenant to give Israel victory in their battles. And David knew it. He had the right perception, and he asserted himself as the instrument that God will use to bring about the fulfillment of that very covenant advantages. All the Israeli armies, including King Saul, they all ran away into hiding from Goliath. They didn't realize the covenant advantages they have over the Philistine, and they were not assertive for the battle. They were not. They ran away in fear of the Philistine, who doesn't have any right, any covenant advantage over them. The winning narrative the Philistines sold to the Israeli armies was that Goliath was a giant. Goliath has been a warrior from his youthful age who never lost any battle. Too fierce and expert in the battlefield to fight with. Unfortunately, that became the perception of the Israeli army, that all of them, they ran away, including their commander-in-chief, just like when we are talking about the statement of Pastor Enoch Adeboye defending Bola Ahmed Tinubu, comparing Bola Ahmed Tinubu with the pragmatic and proactive, aggressive leadership qualities of President Donald Trump in addressing insecurity that is a threat to the United States of America. They ran away and went into caves, and they were hiding from Goliath. But when David came in, he changed the narrative, and he was very assertive based on his perception of who Goliath truly was. He was a giant, but there is something underneath that very qualification that will bring him down. Yes, Goliath is a giant, a champion of the Philistines. He has been fighting from his youthful age, but there is something underneath that very towering qualifications that is capable of pulling him down, and that became the advantage of David. That advantage came from the covenant. Biafrans and Nnamdi Kanu supporters, let me ask you very important critical questions. What is your perception of Nnamdi Kanu and Biafra independence? What is your perception of Nnamdi Kanu and Biafra independence? Who is forming and shaping your perception? What are the things that are molding, that are calibrating the way you see things with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Biafra independence? Who are the ones engineering the way you see things? Number two question I want to ask you: what narrative trigger your fear? What narrative trigger your discouragement? What kind of narrative trigger your fear or position your outlook towards the freedom of Biafra? What narrative changes the way you see the freedom of Biafra? What narrative trigger your fear? What narrative push you into discouragement? Number three question I want to ask you: how easy are you to be controlled emotionally? How easy are you to be controlled and manipulated emotionally? Number four question I want to ask you: how assertive are you in the face of this Goliath threatening to defeat the freedom of the struggle? How are you assertive right now in the face of this Goliath that is threatening to defeat the struggle, the freedom, the release of Nnamdi Kanu, the independence of Biafra? How assertive are you? Number five, what advantages do you have over the oppositions? What advantages are in your hands right now, in your mind, in your heart, at your disposal against the oppositions? Number five question I want to ask you. Number six question I want to ask you: how do you deploy these advantages for Nnamdi Kanu and Biafra freedom? How do you release them? How do you put them to use? These advantages you have over the opposition, over their false narratives, over the manipulative stories, misleading information, concocted evidences that are not real. What advantages do you have, and how do you deploy these advantages? How do you deploy it in order to make sure that no one brings you down? Number 7, should you fall for the damaging narratives or be positively assertive like David to bring this giant down? Very critical 7 questions. Remember, this is the part 5 of our teaching series. I'm God's servant Maxwell Nnawuihe. David was told many times by his brothers and King Saul that he was not qualified to challenge Goliath. He was not trained in conventional warfare, and he was just a teenager. That's the narrative. That was the government policy. No teenager below 20 should be conscripted into the army of Israel. That was the government policy. And how can you fight outside the army of Israel? David should have gone home like some of you have done, because of the narrative and the ugly stories surrounding Nnamdi Kanu's leadership and the DOS. He should have gone home. Many of you now, you have kissed the restoration of Biafra goodbye. But no, David refused them from messing up with his mind. David refused them from messing up with his perception, emotion, and faith. David laid hold on them and held them so tightly to guide him and also to form his perception of who Goliath truly was. That was it. He refused. He stood very strong. He then shared the story of how he killed lion and bear, only him, single-handedly in the bush. The lion and the bear that came after the father's flocks in his custody in the bush. He was sharing the story with King Saul. Only me, I killed the lion and the bear. And I take a vow, a solemn vow today, that this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them. King Saul couldn't dissuade him anymore, but rather handed him his armor to go into the battle with Goliath. What does it mean here? The government policy has changed. Perception and existed narratives on Goliath changed overnight. And in the end, Goliath, the champion of the Philistines, was brought down. His head was cut off in the battlefield by David. Philistine was defeated. David was elevated, and his family was removed from all forms of taxation and tribute in Israel, paving way for his future kingship. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 34 to 38. The difference between David and the armies of Israel was perception on the narrative of Goliath. The Goliath narrative, the impossibility narrative of Biafra's extrication from Nigeria. That is the Goliath narrative. It is impossible. It's not going to happen. The betrayal is too much. This is giant narrative. Everybody saw the same giant. Only David understood the story and narrative differently. And you know that story shapes action. This principle applies every day. The side that controls the story often influences the outcome. Each time you take wrong actions is a sign of perception of narrative and emotional attachment to misleading stories. Each time you take actions, wrong actions at that, it is a sign of perception of wrong narrative and emotional attachment to misleading stories. When your actions are wrong, you have to trace it by the misleading stories you have attached yourself to emotionally. Let's look at the Esther principle. In the book of Esther, the Jewish people faced a serious threat, very, very serious. Esther did not begin by making demands. Queen on the throne, the husband, the emperor, controlling about 120 provinces. She did not start with making a demand first. She first gained an audience with her husband. Then she presented information. Then she influenced the decision makers. And ultimately, she reversed the genocide that was prepared for the Jews by Haman. The path to freedom is very dangerous. You need to understand this, because there are lots of laws. There are a lot of laws and rules that threaten your action and consistency. This is why a lot of people turn around and betray their freedom. The movement towards the emancipation of Biafra have been betrayed by many people, because the road, the path to freedom is so dangerous. A lot of people in the middle of the road, in the middle of the path, when they see the dangers, they turn around and abandon it. This is why It is happening today in the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. All king's officials knows there is one law that if you approached the king without his invitation, you are to be killed. And for 30 days, I have not been invited. So asking me to do something in order to free our people is sending me on a suicide mission, because the king has not invited me for about 30 days. Mordecai, the uncle, challenged Esther with these words, and she responded positively. Esther chapter 4 verse 14 says, and who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Then Esther responded in chapter 4 verse 16, go, gather all the Jews who are in Shushan and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my maidens will fast as you do. We will not sit on the fence and be claiming royalty. When this is done, I will take the bull by the horn. I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. Look at perception. Are you seeing it there? Look at perception. Look at emotion. Are you seeing how it is changing? She has allowed the uncle and the words of the uncle to change her perception, the way she saw things at the moment. She has not been invited by the king to come in to be with the king in order to pave way for an opportunity for her to discuss with the king the plight of her people. And if she was to force herself to meet with the king when the king had not invited her, she would be killed, stoned to death. That was the initial perception, because there was a law that created that narrative and then calibrated the perception of everybody. But when the uncle spoke to her and used a deadly weapon that destroys wrong perception and emotional imbalance, all of a sudden, Esther said, I'm going to take the bull by the horn. I now have a better perception, and there is an advantage that I have. That advantage is prayer. We are going to pray. Everybody's going to prayer. What ordinary human understanding cannot change, prayer can change it. What ordinary human ideologies cannot be able to reform or transform or change or adjust, prayer can do it. Madina re antesa beshagada abiane da bikato sikapena zantiskabra aloria bahanda. That is what has been happening in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, because we have kept praying on this altar. We have kept praying that God will expose every hidden agenda. Household enemies, inside and external enemies. We have been praying with the book of Genesis chapter 11 verse 6 and 7 and 8. That God shall confound the language of all the liars, all the deceivers, all the people that are using the name of Nnamdi Kanu to dupe and to deceive and to destroy the possibility of the restoration of Biafra and the release of Nnamdi Kanu. I don't want to deviate to go into prophetic updates. There are so many. Reba Enekota, Zalipa Talakobasha, Ertengaya, Counsel of Ahithophel, the book of Job chapter 5 verse 12 and 13, to destroy their evil devices and their counsels and their manipulation. The book of Psalms chapter 55 verse 9 and 10, that God should divide their tongues, confound their languages, because I've seen iniquity and evil in the city. Esther used the advantage of prayer. Number one, timing. Esther waited for the right time because she had the right perception. Number two, strategy. Number three, prayers. Number four, communication. Esther communicated with the king several times. If you read that very scripture, you will see different layers of communication with the king, different layers of strategy, different layers of timing. She was not in a hurry to discuss with her husband. Even after she gained the access to discuss with the king, she didn't start talking immediately. She was waiting for a proper time. She was now on top of the game. She had everything under control because she got the right perception. She got the right emotional balance in order to help her to approach and handle the matter. And number 3, she asserted herself very well and very positively. She knew her advantage. Number 5, she confronted her fears of death. She confronted it. If I perish, I perish. That is confrontation. Number 6, bold steps and action. Esther took bold steps and actions. These are all essential even today in the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The power of storytelling and emotion. You should understand that human beings are emotional creatures. We all know that facts matter. You should also understand that stories make facts memorable. You should remember that the enemy or opposition, they uses stories to manipulate your emotions, to calibrate your brain for their control. Politicians, they use it. Media, they use it. TV or radio stations or television houses and other manipulative agents of the government are using the stories of what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said against Nigeria and individuals in order to validate his life sentence and also to weaken his appeal. That's what they are doing. Today, a lot of people are coming up to claim the ownership of IPOB. Especially there's a man that is now in the news, Emeka Siri, as the founder of IPOB. Who brought up the story? It was the handlers of the former DOS, the handlers of the dissolved DOS. All of a sudden, they came up and said, Emeka Siri is the founder of IPOB. But you knew that he, according to you, was the founder of IPOB. You never said it all these years. You kept on following Nnamdi Kanu. You kept on praising Nnamdi Kanu. You kept on calling him the supreme leader. You kept on acknowledging him as the founder and the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra until he dissolved the third DOS. And you were trying to prove stubborn, he suspended you. And then you kept on ranting and shouting everywhere, you were expelled. You started telling the whole world that Nnamdi Kanu is not the original founder of IPOB. You knew he wasn't the original founder of IPOB for more than 12 years, or 12 years, or more than 10 years. You didn't say it. Stories. The woman with punk haircut, and Nnamdi Kanu's wife, the DOS, and a whole lot of them have been bringing up a lot of stories about Nnamdi Kanu, how unfaithful he has been to the wife, how he has been humanizing. He impregnated a young lady, he bought a house at Enugu, he ran away from London, ran to Kenya, and was living with a woman. There's a voice note I heard today. My goodness. The voice of the wife of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I'm going to bring some of all those things to this platform very much later. Talking about the divorce. That Nnamdi Kanu should have signed the divorce paper. He ran away and ran to Kenya. A lot. Let's stick to what we are discussing here. Don't worry, I'm going to bring them. After this series, I'm going to be bringing them one after the other. The media houses and the Nigerian government authorities and the agents, they are now dishing out in the quantity, overwhelming narratives and stories of all that Nnamdi Kanu has been doing, all that he said against Nigerian government. In fact, because of what he did and what he said, he's supposed to be jailed. In fact, some of them are saying that he's supposed to die by hanging. And all of these are fighting against his life sentence appeal. Human beings are emotional creatures. As you hear all these things, you are jumping up, you put your hands on your head and say, hey, Chimamu, always you. So we have been deceived. So Nnamdi Kanu na liar. Emotion. This is why you shouldn't allow the stories of Biafra betrayal to paralyze your support for freedom. a lot of sabotage, a lot of corruption, a lot of intimidation, a lot of blackmail between Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, between IPOB and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, between the IPOB DOS and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Masob has joined in this episode. Emeka Siri has joined in this episode, on top of other key actors who has been there shouting and jumping up against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The Southeast governors, on the other hand, most of them are there as well. Don't capitulate and don't allow them to drown you emotionally. Don't. The sack of the DOS, expulsion of some members of the third DOS, dissolved DOS, announced that Nnamdi Kanu has also been suspended indefinitely as IPOB leader and Radio Biafra director. The internal wars and epic leadership hijack or power tussle. Remember that I prophesied that some years ago, and there was a new prophecy I gave on the 21st of May. The spider hijack of Nnamdi Kanu's release. Urgent, MNK urgent prophetic watch. Have you watched that prophecy? 21st of May. Before the DOS was dissolved. Have you watched that prophecy I gave? 21st of May is on this channel, Maxwell Nnawuihe YouTube channel. That prophecy came. The title is MNK Prophetic Watch. MNK Urgent Prophetic Watch. Spider hijack Nnamdi Kanu's release. Biafra News. Maxwell Nnawuihe. Go and watch it. When I talked about the role of the wife of Nnamdi Kanu in the prophecy, that I was inside the office of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and it was filled and covered and messed up, hijacked by cobwebs and spiders. And the wife of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu did not remove the cobwebs. Watch that prophecy. 21st of May. Few days later, 17th of June, the third DOS was dissolved. I am not saying I'm for or I'm against. Just go and watch the prophecy. And with all the things, the updates that are coming up and all the unfolding stories, you know where you belong. You should know where you belong. The stories of how Mazi Nnamdi Kanu allegedly impregnated a girl at Enugu and bought a house. How he was living with a woman in Kenya before his abduction in Nairobi. How he wanted to collapse IPOB in order to regain his freedom as a bargain, a plea bargain with the Nigerian government. Whether it is true or false, allow Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to come out and speak for himself before you conclude. Before you conclude, you need to allow, why is it now that he doesn't have the opportunity to address the press, to make a press statement by himself on video, that all of these arsenals have been released? Nnamdi Kanu's wife siding with the dissolved DOS and sacked lawyers. Some Nnamdi Kanu's family members have been accused of turning their Biafra freedom to family business or political transaction for money. None of these things should mess up with your brain. None of these weapons I've mentioned, 5 of them, 5 deadly weapons they are releasing, targeting you. Don't allow them to bring you down. Don't allow them to mess up with your brain. Don't allow them to destroy your resolve for freedom. Don't give up like the Israeli armies and King Saul in 1 Samuel chapter 17. Do not. Stand very strong. Stories are very powerful weapons in the freedom fightings and freedom movement and the battlefields. But the critical question is, how do you make use of it? The critical question is, do you allow it to destroy your hunger for freedom? This is a very important question you need to answer. Very, very important. I am God's major prophet, Maxwell Nnawuihe. I will see you in the part 6.
Subscribe on YouTube, TikTok, X, Facebook, and Instagram. Follow Maxwell Nnawuihe for more updates. Follow us on YouTube, TikTok, X, Facebook, and Instagram for more updates.